Hey guys, this is Chesney Hawks here. You are watching My Hammers 11 with the one and only Russ.
Hi everybody, Russ and My Hammers 11. Hope you are all safe and well. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, hitting the bell icon so you may anytime we put new content on. As always, like to say I love your channel sponsor, Untucket. Check them out in the description below. Another fan 11, a man we were just saying it's a bit like a first date. We've communicated so much on email and messaging and stuff like that, but we've never really met. And so I'm looking forward to talking to the man today. The man behind the Noble Era series. Let's be honest, the man behind the Noble Era series, the man himself, is Mr. Skipper. How are you doing, Skips?
I'm fine, thanks, Russ. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm all right. Nice dinner today. Cooked nice dinner. I know it's pissing it down. We're recording this on Monday. I know this is probably going to get out on Wednesday or something, but I managed 5 minutes without no rain to quickly open the barbecue up to do a bit of chicken on the barbecue. So I was quite pleased.
I love how we've gone to food straight away.
Always is. It's back to form, Skips. Anyone who watches the lunchtime shows know we barely talk about football, to be honest. It's part being a West Ham channel, and it's always about lunch. So it just seems natural we talk about food. But yeah, I'm very well, thank you. I'm very well. Mrs. Budden's birthday this week, so that'd be good. And my daughter's next week. So May is an expensive month for me.
I was going to say busy time, yeah.
Busy time. It is. But it's like it's all done. So then it's like done until
get
Christmas.
it all out of the way.
Exactly. Mother's Day's out the way. Valentine's Day's out the way. The birthdays are out the way. I've got 7 months clear now. So that's the way I look at it. That's the way I look at it. Every cloud. But have you been, Skips? Have you been, Mohammed?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. As I was just saying to you before, you've sort of been keeping me entertained the last few months with the lunchtime shows and watching the Hammers 11s. And like you said, with the Noble Era, I've had a little bit of time on my hands lately. Sort of because of the job I'm in, I work in travel. It's obviously been a little bit quiet. No one's been going anywhere, so been working from home. Had a little bit of time on my hands. I thought, do you know what? Let's do something interesting, or maybe not. And the Noble Era just sort of started life from that. Then obviously you've now taken it and made a show of it, which is brilliant. I really enjoy it.
Yeah,
and so does everyone else from what you say.
Yeah, I get lots of messages. When's the next episode? And I mean, even new YouTube royalty. Jack Mate will literally text me, when's the next episode? Literally inject it into my arms. I love it. So it's a great thing. It's a great way. And I imagine things are starting to be picking up a little bit for you now in the old travel sector.
Well, we were hoping so, but that green list got announced last week, and I work in corporate travel, and unfortunately my clients aren't going to the Falkland Islands or anywhere like that. So the places they travel to are all still quarantined. So we're not expecting much to change probably for the next few months. So, but fingers crossed, it will pick up. And at the end of the day, I've got to be thankful. I'm still employed. Like my colleagues, unfortunately, haven't been.
Sure. Exactly.
But as I say, the plus side is I get to watch your show every lunchtime.
Get to watch our show. So there you go. So every cloud has a silver lining, Skips, isn't it? And that's the thing. But I mean, as you said, as long as you've got, as long as you still got, money in your pocket and your health, that's all we can hope for at the moment, isn't it? So, but things are starting to get a bit better, isn't it? And obviously, we know that West Ham's kept us going, hasn't it? It's kept us going.
If nothing else, I mean, what a season it's been. Unfortunately, obviously, the last few games. It's funny, really, isn't it? Because if you said at the beginning of the season, we're position we're in going into it with 2 games to go, you bite your hand off. But obviously, to be, I remember your taglines: "We're still fourth, we're still fifth."
Yeah.
And it could be that we just scrape into 7th. But let's see what happens. I think fans being back on the last game against Southampton is going to be massive.
Yeah, absolutely massive. I'm really excited for that game. I really think so, because obviously, what could be at stake, and although. Obviously, this will go out probably maybe Thursday, so we may have already played West Brom. So obviously,
so we know where we are.
We know where we are. So we'll just cover eventualities. Oh, great, we won! Fantastic. We're in Europe. At least we're in Europe. Oh, we've got a draw. Okay, well, it's a bit dodgy. Oh, we lost. Okay, there we go. We've had all eventualities covered now. Skips are okay now. But it's what could be. Obviously, the last game of the season. We could be competing with Tottenham.
Well, we're going to have eyes on that result, aren't we? We're going to be watching ours and sort of watching what's going on the other screen with them. So, maybe the Europa League's better for us because I think, to be fair, the squad we've got, Champions League, would we have got very far? Europa, you'd like to think maybe we'd be able to give it more of a shot, but just to be in Europe's great anyway.
It is.
It's a brilliant season.
It's brilliant. You're totally right, and I think, it's a great thing for the players, but also it's a great thing for the fans as well. I mean, having a couple of European trips is always nice. Hopefully, we'll be able to go to those places as well. I think if we were in the Europa Conference, I want to say I think the last qualifying stage is in August. I think so. You would hope there'd be some sort of movement of travel somewhere. So particularly in Europe. So we'll see. But brilliant season, and I'm looking forward to next season now already because I just what can happen with this team and this management and and hopefully a few players in and
get ourselves a decent striker.
Yeah.
Not an Arnautovic. We don't need him back.
No, I'm he. Do you know what? I know Arnie's Arnie, but someone put on Twitter today, I think it was, a 2018 Arnautovic would we be in Champions League with him this year? And I agree.
Possibly. I don't know. He'd have to win the fans back over first, wouldn't he?
Yeah. No, I know. But I think, it's sometimes, we just have that, obviously he's such a, what's the word? He's such a, he was tailored for that Moyes situation in terms of the system, and that's why it works with him. He's, and that, and Taylor's fantastic, and he'll end up being our top Premier League goal scorer, hopefully by the end of the season. Who knows? It'd be great. Could you imagine if he scored the goal which made us and took us into Europe and beat Tottenham and we finished sixth? That'd be fantastic. But someone like Arnautovic, he was strong, he was quick, and he had a bit about him in terms of skill. We'll see what happens in the transfer window.
It could be 1-1 in the 93rd minute on Sunday. Sunday, whenever
Sunday,
Sunday, and maybe up comes Fabianski and does an Alisson in the last minute.
Oh, could you imagine? That'd be amazing. That'd be amazing, wouldn't it? That was a great header. That would be funny. Everyone would be very proud of that header. I tell you, it's a fantastic header. And I just thought, it's just typical, isn't it? I know it's frustrating. I know there's been sort of a cross section. There's other fans who are, like really happy that we've had a good season and we're still in Europe, which is fantastic. There's another fan base who are like, we've let ourselves down a little bit, and another fan group who are like, oh, that's it, we're the worst team. And as you said, we're competing for European places rather than relegation places.
The thing that gets me, Russ, is a few of my Spurs mates are saying to me, how comes we've had our worst season for years and we're still above you? It's like,
it's like,
play that on Sunday. Let's wait and see what happens. Yeah,
exactly. Let's wait and see what happens Sunday. And the trophy cabinet will be, congratulations, you've got through. You've beaten West Ham or whatever. Well done.
Yeah.
That's literally all they've got. And they won't have Harry Kane next season now. He decided he doesn't want to play for him anymore. So fair play. I can imagine they're going to absolute meltdown with him. That news coming out that he doesn't want to play for. He wants to move this season in the summer. So
I saw something about it earlier. So
couldn't happen to a nicer club. Could not happen to a nicer club. I feel so sorry for them. Not so. But it's good. I mean, there's so much going to happen this summer as well. So I think with the Euros as well, and loads of movement of players, and I think there's going to be lots of really interesting ways of doing transfers as well, because everyone's not going to have any money, so it'll be loans and 2-for-1s and player transfers, and I think it's going to be really exciting. So this season's been fantastic, but now I'm looking forward to next season. Who did you say was your hammer of the year?
My hammer of the year, I think Lingard's not been there long enough, so it's got to be. I think between the two Czech boys, personally, it's got to. I think it'll be down to between them two. Yeah,
me too. I think if there wasn't the injuries, it would have been 4 or 5, wouldn't it? Easily, it would have been Bono, it would have been Declan Rice, Cresswell. They'd all be in the mix. But I think the two boys. I think I pinned my colours to Soufal quite early on this season, just because I think he just epitomises what we want as a West Ham player. He's turned up. We've scoffed at this £5 million price tag for a right back, thinking what the hell we're going to get for 5, and he's just proven us all wrong. And he seems really down to earth, and Yeah, he gets the bus. He's got a nice car as well. I've seen his car. He has a nice car, but he gets the bus. So, vis-a-vis, but I think he's great. He's so committed. And yeah, I can't remember him having a bad game this season.
No, it's solid, isn't he? We've been crying out for someone like him for a long time.
That's what we want, isn't it? You just want like consistency at that right.
Is he a Soufal or a Kufal? Because they seem to get
Soufal.
Every game.
It makes no sense. It makes no sense because it should be Kufal because it's Soucek, but apparently he is Soufal. I've been reliably informed. Well, that winds me up as well because it's Soucek, not Soucek. And
as long as he plays well, that's the main thing.
As long as he plays, I don't care who. I'll call him whatever he wants to be. Yeah, as long as he scores. But yeah. But we'll see. I mean, it's a good season. Yeah, we've got to play West Brom. We've already played them by the time this video comes out. But with Sunday to look forward to, and then all the fun of transfer windows and Euros and stuff. It's a good time to be a West Ham fan, I think.
Hopefully, we've had a decent result against West Brom. My only worry is they've got fans in for that game, haven't they? And that could be that's obviously their last Premier League game. Could be for a while. You don't know.
Yeah, could easily.
Plus, it's Sam Allardyce, so you just don't know.
No, you just don't know, do you? But I think we might have a rollicking. I think the fact of the Everton result or the Sheffield United result, more like it. I think that's probably pipped everyone up a little bit, and you think they'd be properly up for it. It seems to be we have a good game and a shit game, a good game and a shit game. So we had a good game against Burnley, didn't we? We played well against Burnley. We had a couple of shit games, so we're due a good game.
And Ben Rama's now scored, so maybe
that will shackles will push him off. Yeah, so we'll see, man. I think it's exciting times. It's exciting times, Skips. Right, okay. First question: why West Ham, Skipper? Why is it your club, my friend?
Well, West Ham. I think, like most West Ham fans, you don't really get a choice, do you?
No.
Me and my brothers were just brought up on West Ham. It was all we ever knew. My dad was born in, or not born, but brought up on the Portway, so like a stone's throw from Upton Park.
Yeah.
So as far as back as we can remember as kids, we used to go to West Ham. We were bought the tops. I'm one of three boys, so my mum we just drove her mad. It was a complete football mad house, West Ham house. And all my mates were a few mates were glory hunters like Liverpool and all that growing up at school, and then a lot of them Tottenham, Arsenal, all that. And obviously, West Ham, we weren't winning anything. Sort of yo-yo side, weren't we, for many years when I sort of grew up watching them. And I just go back to it. I don't think you get a choice. It's sort of just installed in you as a West Ham fan. So
it's really true. And
you ride the roller coaster of being a
yes.
Hammers fan.
Yeah, exactly. I was talking to a guy the other day, and he said, he wanted to thank his dad. Or was it who was I talking to? I've got my uncle to thank for being a West Ham fan, and I was like, are you taking the piss a little bit? to thank for being a West Ham fan is like Jesus. But I know what you mean, obviously you avid messenger on the on the things at the lunchtime shows. West Ham's a funny it's a great community. It's a great and so much so we get people from all other clubs come over and chat to us, don't we? So it's they we've all hooked them in as well now. It's a funny old club, West Ham, but it's a special, very very special club, I think.
Oh, of course,
very
definitely
special.
Massive support, and I think hopefully moving to that stadium, obviously we've got the ambitions of getting into Europe, which hopefully this is now going to do that. And let's see if we're promised what the owners have said we were going to get.
I think it's for me now, I think the Pellegrini experiment didn't work.
No.
And the frustrating thing was, if we hadn't tried the Pellegrini experiment, in theory, that money would have been available to David Moyes.
And it set us back 18 months as well.
Yeah, and so it has. And so we would be 18 months further on down the line with a team who are together, who have a sense of teamwork, of camaraderie, old school sort of team spirit, with some really good players who are developing. And I think it's a shame that, hindsight's a great thing, but for me, it's like that Pellegrini experiment, as you said, set us back 18 months, which is frustrating in some respects, but at least it seems we're on the right path now. So
look at the two big money signings he made, Haller and Anderson, and
exactly. And basically, the first thing, Moyes has done is pretty much sell Haller and send out Anderson on loan.
Can't see him getting
And
back in. No.
I can't see him getting back into the first team. For me, it's like, if it's, and I've said it before, if it means we sell a player and we make a huge loss on him, that's a risk. And you're thinking, who are you going to bring in to replace him? Is he going to be potentially as good, but you're paying half as much for him? So we'll see. I mean, for someone like Anderson, I think, the Europa League or Europa Conference, potentially, if he's playing, is a great shop window come January. He's not getting any game time at Porto at the moment now, and so it's like, well, you might as well just give him a few. At the moment his stock isn't particularly high, so for me, I would have a go at trying to, give him some games and in the Europa League and see what happens. And I mean, there's a good player there. That first season when he turned up, he was phenomenal. So. Yeah, it's just a shame. It happens too often with us, doesn't it? It's like, or they'll have a really good season. It's usually when they're on loan, we'll get a good player on loan, and as soon as we buy him, he becomes really shit. I mean, no disrespect to Craig, but in the last, he was brilliant, and as soon as we made that deal permanent, a few mistakes started creeping. It's happened before. It happened with Schemmel. Remember, Sebastian Schemmel was brilliant on that, and then as soon as the next season, he was absolutely gash. And we have that sort of mentality, unfortunately, or they get injured, and that's it. They're absolutely useless. But it's. I'm looking forward. I just, there's just a real buzz around the place. There was I was watching today on YouTube, the official site put out a little interview with Mark Noble and Kevin Nolan together. Brilliant interview, like really funny and really interesting about the role of a captain and Kevin Nolan transitioning from a player to a coach, and you still have that sort of, he's still got that player mentality about him, but stuff like that I love. There's a real buzz around it the place at the moment. So
it seems to be. That's important,
really,
isn't it? Yeah,
it's a really exciting time. Do you remember I suppose you probably don't remember your first game because you went quite early on, if I remember.
I was trying to think about it, but I think when we won the FA Cup in '80, I didn't go to that. The Charity Shield, the season after, which I think was against Liverpool. My dad tells me it was the first time he recalls taking me to a game. I remember nothing about it.
Wow.
But the first game I remember properly was the 85-86 season.
Yeah.
And it was the thrashing of Newcastle when we beat them 8-1. You're too young to remember, Russ.
I'm far too young.
And it's a famous game because Alvin Martin scored a hat-trick against three different goalkeepers. One of them being Peter Beardsley. He went in goal. And I'd never seen West Ham score 5, let alone 8.
Yeah.
And, that was a brilliant season. And that was the first game I really remember.
Well, I suppose you couldn't really forget it as well. It's not like it's a 0-0 draw against Barnsley on a wet Tuesday, but it's funny because we interviewed that's going to come out obviously before your one comes out. We interviewed Graham from West Ham Fan TV, and his first game was the 10-0 against Bury. And that was his one, the 10-0. It was the first time ever in 88 years, West Ham has scored 10 goals.
Do you know the crazy thing about that game?
Go on, it.
We beat Bury 10-0, and we go and sign their centre half, Paul Hilton. Only West Ham would do that.
It's the West Ham way, isn't it? It's West Ham way.
We defended well. 10 goals went past their defence.
Yeah, he's got something about him, this boy. But similarly, I remember we had. What was it? When we interviewed Bobby Ferguson, he mentioned it in passing, but obviously he played a pre-season friendly for Hibernian, and he'd already signed for West Ham. And apparently, he didn't mention it but someone mentioned it to me before that he actually had a complete stinker that game, but he'd already signed for us. And obviously, we could have famously got Gordon Banks, couldn't we? We got Bobby Ferguson.
Too late.
Instead.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was always too late. And he turned up in they called him the pillar box because he turned up because it was either in yellow or green as a goalkeeper, and he turned up in red, head to toe in red. And everyone started shouting, calling him a pillar box and stuff like that. But yeah, it's the West Ham way. But yeah, it's funny, isn't it? A lot of people's first games aren't necessarily. It might be, or maybe it's some romanticism about it. Maybe their first game was a 0-0 against Barnsley on a wet Tuesday, but they don't remember it. They remember. You remember certain games that stand out. Of
course
you do.
I mean, I got my favourite game was the FA Cup quarter-final against Everton. We were in the Division 1 and we beat them 2-1. And I remember it was like 28,000, which at the time was a massive crowd up. It felt like a massive crowd at Upton Park. We queued for 4 hours to get in. And I remember that night, Stuart Slater was like brilliant down the wing. We were all singing he was better than Gascoigne that night. Unfortunately, never quite materialised. But yeah, that certain games stand out, don't they, down the years?
I'll say so, do for good and bad reasons as well. Sometimes it's the rubbish games that stand out in it as well because of, I remember losing 3-0 to Leeds. I remember I can't remember, it must have been mid to late 90s, and we had Jonah and I think Mike Newell up front.
Oh dear.
And we didn't look like we were going to score if we played till today, and it was a horrible game. And I just remember that absolutely vividly. I remember a game against Villa where they scored in the first minute, and I think we scored I think Defoe scored the equaliser in the 89th minute, and nothing happened for the 88 minutes in the middle. Absolutely nothing. And it was just a goal in each half, and it's like, oh, that's it. Whistle off, everyone goes home. And it's almost like never happened.
My old man always tells me about a game he went to. It might have been Phil Park's one of his last games, actually, in the semi-finals against Oldham. My dad went up to Oldham with his cousin on the old plastic pitch. Semi-final first leg, we lost 6-0 in the pouring rain. We actually won 3-0 in the return leg, but it obviously weren't enough.
Was that Valentine's Day or something like that? I think they called it. I think it's Valentine's Day Massacre or something. I think it was around that time.
Yeah, I think you're right. Rings a bell. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny, man. But it's great, isn't it? That's why I love doing these shows, because it's like people reminisce about matches and goals and oh god, I remember that. I don't remember that one. You have to go back and rewatch it on YouTube or stuff like that. I absolutely love it. Right, let's talk about your 11. So everyone we have on the video thing, the channel, that's it, has to give an 11. Now, obviously,
my homework.
Good. I mean that's impressive. I mean that's what we want. That's what we want. Dedication. I mean, what else we've got to do? You've done a noble era now, so you've got time to
you realise how tough it is. Do you know what? I see people doing it on your channel, and I think, yeah, I could do that. But it's hard enough for me to do it, and I ain't going to piss anyone off because I didn't play with any of these people. So no one's going to be texting me saying, "Skipper, why didn't you pick me in your team?"
Yeah, it's true. It's so true. I think also, like, I feel sorry for the guys who have been, fans since the 60s, or because they've seen, it's an even harder task for them. I think obviously the younger lads, it's a lot easier because their reference point is only a few years rather than 50 years. So obviously players have come and gone, but it can be quite tricky. And actually, I did mine, and maybe through doing this process, I may change mine.
Yeah,
I may change it because actually, I'm like I put Sebastian Schemmel at right back, and actually, I don't know now. I'm changing my mind. I'm second guessing myself now. I can't because Steve's done me a lovely print, but that's a good way. I can't, but Tim Breaker, I can't, I love Tim, but Steve Potts right back. I don't know. Anyway, so we're doing your one. That's the main thing, Skip. It's not my one.
You know what I like? Just going back, I like when you've got the players and you've obviously got their name there, because if you didn't have their name there, like the other day, you had Joey O'Brien. I wouldn't have known it was Joey O'Brien.
No, me neither.
Say Joey, you O'Brien.
No, I didn't know that either. I honestly, I didn't.
It weren't just some bloke, was it? Turned up saying, "I'll do it."
Yeah, I'm Joey O'Brien. Oh, I'm Spartacus, and so is my wife. Some people look really funny, innit? So I mean, it's the hair for him. Obviously, like I know. I think there's some people who, particularly older players, go, "That's."
You wouldn't recognise that in Devonshire, would you?
No, Dev was the only one I was going to say. Dev, and eventually when we get ER Berkovic on, he looks completely different as well.
Yes.
Like, the years have not been kind to ER, bless him. But everyone else looks, I mean,
yeah.
Christ, Guy Demel looks like he could do 90 minutes. He looks so fit. And he's like, and Faubert and all the French lads, Piquillon, they all look like they're proper, like they still got it, man. But right, anyway, let's do your skip. Who's in goal for the Skipper 11?
Right, so this team, it's I'll go with your standard 4-4-2, which I know that you like, and it's a mix of my favourite players. They're obviously not the best 11 that's ever graced a pitch, but it's the players I remember and grew up liking. So in goal for me, there's only one player really, and it's got to be Ludo.
Ludo. Yeah, top boy.
You know, had his
Top
own
boy.
song about him. Just solid. Obviously prone to the odd error like any goalkeeper. But just the other month, I was watching the season reviews, and you just forgot some of the saves he made. Fantastic.
I know. Yeah. And it's always against Man United.
Oh, that game especially, yeah.
But it's a few times. It was always him. Someone mentioned that before Schmeichel came, they were looking at McCloskey, potentially rather than Schmeichel. And it's like it was almost like, well, if he's playing for you, he can't cost you the Championship or the Premiership. So you might bet the devil you know, the devil you don't. But yeah, Ludo, top man, and obviously such an unusual. Obviously, a little bit sort of. He was a foreign-based player, but from the Czech Republic, Czechoslovakia at the time, wasn't it? No one really, obviously, clearly, no one knew who it was. Hence the song. But he was just so athletic and so different from Phil Parkes. He was just a unit, and Ludo was just like more like the modern-day goalkeeper. Sort of still a big lad, but more athletic rather than just big. But yeah, and as you said,
it's interesting listening to players who played with him on your channel. They speak about him, players, obviously, I think he was different to anything that was around at that time. Coming with his own training methods, or it would have been completely different. And obviously, foreigners coming into the game back then, not like today, is it? So it must have been very strange.
Yeah, it must have been weird as well because he didn't speak very good English. I think it was Trevor Morley mentioned that, he couldn't. And they were staying at the Swallow, and he couldn't. Everything sounded like Swallow when he was saying follow, swallow. It all sounded the same, and so no one really knew what he was talking about. But it didn't even endear him. I mean, he seemed to be in goal for us forever.
Yeah,
forever.
yeah.
He's a lovely guy. Eventually, I will convince him to come on. Eventually, right? We'll put Ludo in. Who's next? Then Skipper.
If we go left back, it's got to be Julian.
Yeah. Unit, really. It's a pretty obvious one for our generation, really, isn't it? It's Julian, really, for someone who's
the one I remember growing up. And obviously he got himself in a bit of trouble a couple of times. A few red cards along the way, but he scored some great goals, didn't he?
Oh, he was a fantastic player, and I think if you Graham from West Ham Fan TV, he made a really good point. He was saying that it's like outside of West Ham, he was like perceived as this yob. He was just a yob who put it about. But anyone inside West Ham knew what a fantastic player he was, and obviously we've spoken to him, spoken to players who have played with him, and he's just an incredibly gifted footballer. And
didn't he hate training? From what I heard from people, said he
wasn't. He didn't like the training. He was more than warming up. Didn't like warming up pre-match. He didn't mind doing training. He didn't like running, but his theory was that he didn't need to.
Right.
And I think with warming up, he never used to warm up like on the pitch pre-match. Harry made him do it once, and he hobbled back in pretending he'd pulled his hamstring. And Harry went, "What have you done?" I said, "I've done my hamstring again." He said, "Why?" Well, he says, "Because you made me go out and warm up. I told you I can't do it." And his warm up, I think he said, was a can of Coke and a Mars bar, sitting in his he had his shorts on and his socks and boots, sitting in the hot bath.
Sounds more Sunday League than Premier League, doesn't it?
Sounds, yeah, but I mean, it's just, and I think that's why I think it was quite relatable, isn't he? He was just a guy you could easily see. I mean, I know he owned a pub as well, but if you walked into a pub, but you could easily see him at the bar, and I think that's why we all took to him, because he was a fantastic player as well. He looked like a pub footballer, really, didn't he? And to be fair, particularly with the second time round with the skinhead and the ripped shirt and the,
he's a lovely guy as well. I got fortunate enough to meet him.
He's brilliant.
As well, so
he's fantastic. I love him. He's such a lovely guy. Okay, I'll put Julian in. Who's next then, Skipper?
If we go the other side, you've already mentioned him. Tim Breaker.
Timmy Breaker. Nice. Mr. Reliable.
That was my era growing up. Used to get forward. Scored a couple of goals, I think. But just remember him always. He wasn't the best player, but 100%.
Yeah, but I've got a newfound respect for Tim Breaker. I never really appreciated him. I think when I was watching him,
Yeah,
maybe
that's true.
I was quite young, and it was all about Ian Bishop and Pete Butler. And here we go, managed to get him. How long we've
There
been
you
in?
go.
Only been 30 minutes, and managed Pete Butler. Mentioned him, or Trevor Morley, or it was all about the guys scoring the goals and the flashy players. But I think that's why I really appreciate Sue Fowl now as a player, because maybe we're a little bit older, a little bit wiser, a little bit, and a little bit tuned into the game now. And you watch those guys, and he was very similar to I see Sue Fowl like a modern day Tim Breaker, in that he's sort of like, very similar. They were literally always bombing down that right side, lots of crosses. Tim got quite a few assists as well. I was watching a lot of his stuff again, a lot of season reviews as well. And I think he was a guy who didn't get the adoration, is that the right word? But yeah, sort of now I get more appreciation of him now. And doing this type of thing, a lot of people pick him because we haven't been blessed with right backs really, and so he was definitely a light in a lot of dark in terms of that position. But
Sue Fowl was a close second, but he's only been with us for
too
one
early,
season.
Isn't it? Yeah,
so too early. Yeah,
too early. But clearly, if he's in another 2-3 years, he'd be there. I mean, thinking about it, I put Schemmel in. Schemmel only played to about 2 seasons, and one of them was Ham of the Year, and one of them was absolutely gash. So I think I wasn't thinking properly at the time. But anyway, we'll put Tim Breaker in. Centre backs, first centre half.
First centre half, Steve Potts.
Oh, Potsy, where did we find it? There he is.
He was only about 5'4", wasn't he? 5'5", but he won a lot of headers.
He did, and he could read the game. And I think you don't need to be 6'5" to be a centre back. To be honest, if you can read the game and
played a lot of games, scored one goal.
Yep,
I saw it on the season review. He went through the goalkeeper's legs.
He did, absolutely spooned it again at Hull City. Was it Hull City? Yeah, went through his legs, didn't he? When we did our Steve Potts appreciation night, we replayed it a few times because it's just like and the thing was he'd had a shot just before that as well, which was a really good shot. And then he had that one with the spooner. And I think there was a game, I think it was against Liverpool in the Premier League, where I think Don Hutchinson or someone took it off him and scored. And actually, he was not through on goal, but he was through with a chance. And so there's a couple of times where he could have got a second, but and he's brilliant. The fact he's still in that, he's involved with the club and still the under-23s. It's great. I love Steve Potts.
Remember him. He was always seemed reliable. Didn't remember him making many errors.
No.
Solid.
Really solid. And a very humble man.
Yeah.
A very humble man. So humble. He doesn't like doing interviews.
I was going to say, you've not got him on there.
I'm trying. I've got agents out there. I mean, Christ, I've interviewed pretty much the whole coaching staff now at West Ham, it seems, from the youth staff. And, and the new assistant manager to the women's team, Paul Konchesky.
I saw that today,
Brilliant. Oh mate! He just turned 40 yesterday as well. So it's a double celebration. So he's that's good. I think that's great. I love the fact that there's that connection between the men's team, and the women's team as well. It's not. I mean, some clubs treat it almost like a completely separate entity, but the fact is they train in Chadwell Heath and they play at Dagenham and Redbridge, and you've got the Konchesky thing in there, and you obviously got people like Kate Longhurst, who's a massive West Ham fan, and obviously Jack looks after them as well. So I think it's really cool. I'm definitely going to go down and see a few games next season. Definitely down the Daggers. I used to prefer it at Rush Green because it's like 5 minutes down the road for me.
I've seen them once because they played at the London Stadium against Spurs.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, and they lost.
We lost, yeah.
Can't believe it. Yeah, bigging it all up. It's the West Ham way, isn't it? Bigging them all up. We get Spurs. I think they've just been promoted as well. Spurs as well.
Yeah.
Into WSL, and they got it was 2-0, wasn't it, or something like that? Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that was typical. That was the time, but no, they're good fun. I love it because it reminds me of because I never get to see football like properly. I don't get to see it as a fan really. Yeah. Typey. Yeah. So I never get. So I remember taking my daughter, taking Flo and Flo's friends, and Joe came as well. And I was sat there, and I was stood on, literally on the standing rails, literally spitting distance from the linesman, proper giving it like to the linesman. And Joe's like, "What the hell are you doing, Russ? This isn't." I was like, "I don't know. I've just been taken over with like the football supporter inside me." It was so like, I don't know. It was so like cathartic doing it. It was just amazing. So Flo sort of half enjoyed it. When it's sunny, because it was sunny, she didn't mind it. So I will be taking hopefully to a couple of games next season. But it's the timing, isn't it? On funny times the women's games are.
Yeah.
They're really weird. But yeah. All right, we'll put Steve Potsy in. Potsy's in. I actually started a Steve Potts fan club. Me and my mate Tom Taylor. We had a Steve Potts fan club. That was it. Me and him. That was it.
I'll join.
Steve Potts Appreciation Society, it was called. Right, we'll put Potsy in. Who's going to partner?
So I had to think about this one because obviously when I first started watching them, it was sort of the end of Alvin Martin, Tony Gow. Could have had Slaven in there, but in the end, I went for Rio.
Yeah.
When he broke through, I just remember, there's a lot of talk about him, and I think obviously to this day, actually, whenever he came back with Man United or whatever, the fans gave him such a great reception.
Yeah.
And he always spoke so highly of West Ham.
Yeah.
And obviously, look what he went on to do in his career.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Exactly. And I think there's still like that little bit of Rio, a bit of West Ham still in Rio, if that makes sense. I just think he'll always have that. The fact is, we were the ones who put him on that map from a very early age.
He remembers that, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there's still a soft spot for him. I mean, Man United are his club, basically. Man United, he was very successful there. He's there for the longest period and stuff like that. And obviously broke into the England squad with Man United and stuff like that. But you still think I think maybe also because his brother, the connection with his brother as well. And there's definitely a West Ham part still there. That's the way I see it. But yeah, an absolute quality guy. Quality man. Right, let's go into midfield then. Who's your first midfielder then, Skipper?
So I'll go out on the left, and there's a controversial one, I'm afraid.
Yep.
Dimitri Payet.
I was already going to click
it. You knew it, didn't you?
As soon as you said the word controversial, I was like, right, Payet. But, as I said, Payet, I will do an update video soon. I think Payet is one of the most picked players.
He will be.
Yeah, despite being controversial. You know what I mean?
But, the way it ended was very sour. But if you remember that season, people would have paid money to watch players like that. He put bums on seats.
Yeah.
When he got the ball, you sat and watched. He excited you, and more often than not, something came from it. Brilliant free kicks or great goals. If he didn't get injured for that period, I think we would have finished a little bit higher up that season.
I totally agree. There's a lot of parallels to this season, I think.
I think the difference this season is we're not reliant on one person.
No, you are, but
very much with him.
But we sort of can't. I know we're not, but we are kind of with Declan Rice. But I know we're not. But you're totally right. We're not. It's like when Payet, when your whole game plan, when Slav's whole match plan was basically give it to Payet, and Payet gets injured, that buggers up your match plan. And then we were crap. We were like proper crap. But obviously, and obviously when he came back, as you said, and so we were in the Champions League spots. We could have gone into Champions, and it just fell by the wayside. I think we finished 7th or 8th, didn't we, that season? I think we finally.
Yeah.
It's going to be quite serious season.
Yeah,
so we were riding high, and I think if Declan Rice didn't get injured this season, we would be in the Champions League spots, no problem at all. And it's going to be one of those what if things. But same as when we had that season, what if Payet hadn't got injured, we would have been in the Champions League. But
look, when he was playing for us, he was one of the best players in Europe.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, amazing player.
He got back into the French national side from playing for us.
Yeah. And
if you think about it, since he's left, you don't really hear much of him, do you?
No, the occasional Twitter video of him scoring a free kick, but. And also, the fact is, in a similar way to like a lot of other nations, if you don't play in your national league, you don't get picked unless you're very, 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 very good. Well, they make an exception. And obviously when he was when he was at Marseille, he was still, before he joined us, he was still top of the leagues, top of the European leagues for chances created. I think he's still like one of the top ones in the Premier League or something ridiculous, and he's left how many years ago, but to break into the French team made a massive, it was huge, particularly from a foreign based team. So But obviously, things like the Euros as well, when he was playing for the Euros, and we're all French fans after England got knocked out, and yeah, he was a great player, and he just, if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have had that amazing season. And obviously, this season is more amazing, but that season had more historical sort of context. But he was a great player. There's no denying the fact.
Oh.
Yeah, he left though in a funny way, but those type of players do, those mercurial
And
players.
he's the only player I believe I've put in my team, most recent player, really, because a lot of them are a bit further back. But because he was such a great player, I just had to fit him in, regardless of how it ended.
Totally, yeah. I mean, there's not many situations where you have a Ballon d'Or nominee in your team.
No,
and not like Messi at 53 turning up for for Dagenham and Redbridge, but you know what I mean. Like he was in his prime playing for us, and that's why I think a lot of people pick him, because he was so influential. Such a great player. Right, we'll put Pyatt in. Who's next in Skipper?
So on the other wing, I used to love Kevin Keane.
Yeah.
Used to love Kevin Keane, but unfortunately he doesn't get in my side because Tricky Trev beats him to it.
Tricky Trev's in. Was that a little mic drop there? It sounded like you did a little mic drop after that. Like Trevor Sinclair's in. That's it. Done.
He's in. Done. I remember he scored that overhead kick for QPR in the FA Cup. You remember that?
Yeah.
I always thought, what a player. So I was so pleased when we got him.
Yeah.
And he's got, I know he's been on your channel and you always say,
love him.
Send you a little message now and then.
Oh, I love him. I love Trevor. I love him.
I love listening to him on the radio and when he's on the box and that.
He's really good, and he loves the club, and that's what I love about actually everyone really. Most of the players, everyone seems to still follow the club and will message. If team are playing well or whatever, they'll be on social media tweeting about it or Instagram posting or whatever, and it's because it's a special club. And obviously for me, he represented, and some other players obviously of that generation, my most enjoyable time as a fan. I think I love that period. That was so much fun. Prolonged. I think we were three seasons in the top 9. So hopefully those times are going to come back again now. But it wasn't that we didn't have one season wonders. We didn't have a bowling season, and then we've had 5 seasons of gash until this season. So it was exciting. But it wasn't just successful. It was exciting football, exciting on the pitch, entertaining. We were entertained. We had your John Moncurs, we had Razors, we had these characters, and I always look at that period with real sort of misty eyes, because it was an amazing time. I love that time. That period was absolutely amazing, and Trevor epitomised it. And
he scored some great goals for us as well.
Never scored a tap in my opinion. Never scored a tap. We did another appreciation night. We did always bloody goals one after the other, and he turned up, which was quite funny. To his own bloody, it's like this is your life, and he actually I had to let him go because Anton and Ryan were getting proper gooey-eyed, they're watching their idols, but all these goals never scored a tap in. It was always a 20-yard banger. It was always over Boxing Day. He always scored a cracking goal on Boxing Day as well. He said that his mum used to put, it's probably what his mum put in the turkey or something, he said on that one interview, and I thought it was absolutely brilliant. But yeah, we'll put Tricky Trev in. So we've got Pyatt on one wing, Tricky Trev on the other. First centre mid.
Yeah, midfield was difficult. And this player gets in because for me in the 90s, I just used to love watching him. Ian Bishop.
Oh, Bish Bosh.
If nothing else, for that hair alone.
What a player. What a player. Ahead of his time. I think he's ahead of his time. He would fit into today's game so well. So well, I think. It reminds me of, you look how successful someone like David Silva was for Man City for many years, despite not being blisteringly gifted with pace. He was still banging them in and getting top assists and things like that, and that's what Bish was doing. I thought Bish was a fantastic player, absolutely phenomenal player.
You know how certain seasons, some kits make you think of a player, and I just think of BAT windows on the shirt, and I just remember Bishop wearing that.
What one? The home strip or the away strip?
I think the away one.
Yeah, that's
my favourite one.
That's a great shout, and I think that's that. And if we're led to be believed, that's the theme of one of the strips of next season. Apparently, says X. I don't know. I haven't seen it, but yeah. So, but yeah, that BAC. Or no, for me it was Dagenham Motors because when I started supporting, it was 92, 93, and they just moved to Dagenham. And obviously the club have got them now, haven't they? The Dagenham Redbridge version, and but they haven't got my size. I found out I haven't got my size, unfortunately. But yeah, it's coming. They're coming back in September. So, but yeah, Bishop was definitely that blue and white, the Argentina sort of.
That's that's the one.
Yeah,
and I saw him on your channel, and he's lovely guy. Over in the States now, isn't he?
Yeah, he's in the States, loving life over there. He's brilliant and such a nice guy. And he's such a nice guy. He didn't do an 11 because he didn't want to piss him off. And but that's Bish, and so you sort of
sounds like he was a character in the dressing room as well, didn't he?
Yeah, I think they all were. That was the time where they all seemed to be good characters, and they all seemed to have a laugh, and not like to the I mean, not bullying because that's no, but it was like everyone, the youth team players as well. If they wanted to, the older players loved them having a pop at them because it showed that they had character and they had the balls to be in a man's game, so to speak. And Bish, I think, he's And funny story about Ian Bishop. He turned up at my brother and my school, me and my brother's school, in Debden, not in Loughton, in Debden. Well, it was Loughton. That Davenant Foundation School, and he did a sort of one of those. They used to do the sort of hidden camera shows. And he did one on my brother. So they put up all these like cameras in my brother's art class. It was from like some Dave Benson Phillips program or something like that. And Ian Bishop they literally sort of jumped, like pounced in. And Bish and Tom, they said to my brother, "Oh, do you know this is Ian Bishop?" Ray. And they had to go and do like football training on the tarmac at in the netball courts. And he remembers it. He does remember it. I asked him about it. Yeah. And it's just so funny. Absolutely brilliant. Love him. Right. Okay. Bish Bosh is in. Who's next?
So the next one, funny enough, I remember this because I was on my honeymoon.
Yeah.
And it was in Mauritius, and there weren't much to do in Mauritius. I mean, it was a honeymoon, so make of that what you will. You'd make your own entertainment. But one evening, put the telly on, and football was on, and West Ham were playing Aston Villa, and this player scored a brilliant goal, and it's Yossi Benayoun.
Oh yeah, nice, good player, Yossi was. I liked him. Where is he? There.
My wife said, "Turn that bloody off." I said, "No, we're winning 4-0."
What a player Yossi was, though. Fantastic player.
And he's a good Jewish boy like myself.
Yep. But
a great player.
And I used to work for a Jewish company, so I'm probably more Jewish than a lot of my friends who are Jewish, because I knew, because they were proper I called them proper Jewish people. It was like in Collindale, so like proper Golders Green, So and the guy I used to sit next to was called Yoshi. Joseph, but obviously they called him Yoshi. So it was always and I'd text my mates, "Oh, happy Hanukkah," or he went, they went, "Oh shit, is it today? Oh shit, I thought it was a bit quiet around there." They didn't know. I knew all of them because obviously they'd all be on, all my work colleagues would be on holiday. So but Yoshi Benayoun, top man. Yeah, fantastic player, and and was a boomerang player. Went and came back as well. Best player on the pitch apart from that 1 minute Gerrard scored at a FA Cup final. He was amazing that day. Yoshi was absolutely amazing. Right, Bish and Benayoun. I like that in the middle. That's some alliteration for you. Right, who is up front? Who's your first striker?
So first striker is Mr. Di Canio.
Yeah, PDC.
Had to put him in.
Yeah.
Had to put him in. He was the first player I remember just with, he showed that flair and Italian charisma on the pitch, something completely different from what I'd seen before. I remember that one game, he took the ball off Lampard and I was arguing over that penalty.
Yeah.
And I hadn't seen anything like that before. And Yeah, he was, and obviously that goal, the volley,
Yeah.
brilliant.
Fantastic player, and again, similar as you said, similar to sort of Pyatt in terms of you would pay your transfer fee, you'd pay your season ticket to see him. He was that
Yeah,
good. He was that entertaining, and again, we love players who get off our seats, and he did that. Not even necessarily for his skill, just for his characteristics, the way he held himself, the way he would throw tantrums, all that type of
yeah,
stuff we loved.
that's what I
So
mean. And we
he's
love players who love the club, and I don't think
yeah.
anyone epitomises that more than him. When he
Yeah,
talks about West Ham, he really shows he loves the club, doesn't he?
yeah. No, I totally agree. He's just a lovely guy, lovely man, loves the club. Anyone who's got a West Ham tattoo, I have utmost respect for because I don't like needles. So don't like fish and I don't like needles. And so yeah, for me, that's if he's to get inked and not even be obviously he became a fan having played for the club. It's not like it's a boyhood club. He wasn't standing on the terraces watching him in the North Bank when he was a young lad, but he had this affiliation. Sometimes a player and a club's fan base just connect, and
Yeah,
that
without a doubt.
happens. Doesn't happen very often, but when it does, it's
Don't get
very
me wrong, I
special.
would never want him to be our manager
Oh
because I
God,
don't
no!
think he's
Christ, no!
managerial
No!
material.
No,
But
God, no! I know
didn't
exactly what
quite
you
work
mean.
out for him as a boss, did it? In the
No,
no,
but having interviewed a few people who saw him as a manager, I think we ended. How did we interview? I think it might have been John Joe and his dad, and got they'd got invited to go to Swindon to see Paolo, and he'd obviously just moved. He was the manager at Swindon, and he basically he took him for a special tour. He went back to his office, and literally in his office, in his desk drawers, he had pictures and cuttings full of his West Ham days. And they were getting out and going. And this isn't like in the city, wherever I don't know where the Swindon ground is, the county ground, probably something like that. But this is, and he's going through it in his office. It's like, well, yeah, mine's not on the game, surely. If you've got a whole drawer in your office about West Ham, you know what I mean?
yeah,
It's just, I just don't think, and I think sometimes, when a player is so good, he sets himself such high standards that he assumes that the players around him will have those high standards as well in terms of technique and stuff like that. And he was he wasn't in the Premier League. He was in League One or League Two. He was, so you're not going to be playing with the skill level that you're going to have in the Premier League, and maybe that might have rubbed people up the wrong way and stuff as well. But you'd have him as a cheerleader. I'd have him
yeah.
he could fly one of the flags. He'd be good at that, and get everyone up and like an ultra fan, like
Oh yeah, I can imagine him doing that.
yeah,
Yeah,
like big drum or whatever. He'd be proper up for that. But yeah, I wouldn't put him anywhere near the team managing. Definitely not.
he's the
Make
one
him
you need to get on your show. He'd be your flagship
one
interview.
day. Don't worry, Skip. One day, man.
Sort it out.
It's in the works. Might not be to the end of the year, but it's in the works. Right. Okay. Paolo's in. Who is the last spot?
So the last spot is actually my favourite ever all-time hammer, and it might surprise
Really?
some people, but it's Frank McAvenny.
Frank McAvenny, the Maxter.
Whether
Return of
they
the
could
Mac.
play together as a front two, I don't know. But as I said, it's
Yeah.
a team that I grew up remembering watching, and he was my favourite player. That season with TC up top.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Phenomenal player.
He turned
again,
into character.
And again, yeah, character. And that's something about that about all those players. They're all characters. And the particular 85, 86 team. I know. The fact is, they do all the circuit. They do all the the Hammers evenings and things like that with Len and Johnny and all those guys, and people pay to go and watch them say the same stories.
Yeah.
The history has not changed. We didn't win the league that year, we did that, and they did it. But you pay just to listen to the stories again, just because of the characters and the way they tell them, and the punchline. But it's you have to go, and I think that's what I'm really looking forward to this summer once everything gets sorted again. they start, obviously from June the 21st, whatever it is, we've, there's a lot of events already starting and being booked in, and I'm gagging just to go and hear those stories again, because then it's gonna be fun. Particularly
Even
if
if
you have a
you've
great
heard them
season.
1,000 times, you want to hear them again.
Exactly. You've heard them over and over again, but you just love listening to the stories, and you don't get nothing new out of them, because they've
And
been
Frank
doing
was a
them.
boomerang player. He
Yeah.
weren't the same the second time he
No,
came round.
no.
I remember his final game for us. He started or came on against Notts Forest. He scored a hat trick.
Yeah.
We won the game 3-0.
Yeah.
And it was
Top man.
He was my favourite.
Yeah. I think he's and he's obviously we've had him on. He's great. He's great, Frank. He's a good lad.
The old programmes used to have pull out posters in the centre.
Yes. Yeah.
And I had McAvee above my bed.
I remember when we had Danny. And I remember really clearly. I must have been sitting in the east stand, and they had Danny in the centre fold, so to speak, of the programme. And there was girls, and it was just weird. They were like sticking them up on the side of the stand, these pictures of Danny, and I was like, oh, I just felt so wrong. Felt like it was smash hits, it's like the inside felt smash hits, but yeah, the posters in the middle. Oh god, yeah. Oh, funny.
He was a better model than he was a footballer, though, wasn't he? So
yeah, he was. Yeah, he scored. He did score
against Spurs, I suppose.
Yeah,
he?
so that puts you down. Tick. You score against Spurs, you're in already. You're in forever. But right, where's the team? Let me bring it up. There's the team. Oh,
there you go.
There you go. There's a lot of skill in that team.
Took a long time to do that.
It does, doesn't it? It's quite. I've said the word cathartic twice in the episode, but it is quite cathartic going through and going back through your old programs and the old season reviews and thinking about players. And I can imagine in some cases it's a bit like X Factor, when Simon Cowell picks his final five, and he does it with like all the Polaroids, and he can't make decisions. He has to go, I'm going to sleep on this. I'm going to come back to this in the morning. That's happened with some people. I've had messages from people, and they've got so stressed doing this, because they're like, I can't believe I haven't put in.
I know. That's why you do the honourable mentions, as you always say.
Always do the honourable mentions, and then that's it. Particularly the ex-players, they get out of jail free card. Honourable mentions.
I could have done a second 11 easily. I had Trevor Morley, Frank Lampard, loads of players. Ashton could have put loads in, Hartson.
Yeah.
But you got to pick your 11. And although that team may be a little bit lopsided, very attacking minded, and they would probably win 5-4, and Julian Dix would probably get sent off. But there you go.
Particularly today's game. Yeah, how many games Julian would play in a VAR industry, VAR world we live in now. But no, it's all good. Skits, man, it's been a pleasure.
I've enjoyed it,
my friend.
Thank you, Russ.
Good fun. Absolutely. Thank you so much for everything you do for us. And obviously thank you to everyone for watching as well. So take care, everyone, stay safe, wash your hands off myself. I've done it wrong, Skip.
You've done it wrong.
Damn!
You've done it a few times before. Come on, you know how it goes.
I know. And for myself and from Skip, take care, everyone. Stay safe. Wash those hands. Get those appointments when you get your jab appointments. Come on, your irons, and we'll see you again very, very soon. Take care, everyone. Much love. Bye-bye.